We knew it was coming, and the day is finally here. Florida State's going to leave the ACC. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from ESPN Central Texas. Thank you for making Locked On Big 12 your first listen every single day. It has finally come to fruition. Look, we've been talking about it for months on end. I have been doing my best to be connected with sources who are going to connect you to the latest on realignment and expansion and what is happening. We've turned our attention both out west and out east. And here it is. This is the domino that has been in place since August, if not earlier. And now Florida State today, their Board of Trustees will meet and discuss the preliminaries. You know, we've been told this is kind of the preliminary conversation to their exit from the ACC and how they're going to approach the grant of rights. This isn't even preliminary. We are well along in this process. It's just now. It is absolutely public. They are scheduling on. We're talking Christmas right here. Merry Christmas, by the way, right? This feels like my own personal Super Bowl. We've been leading up to the big moment of not if it's going to happen, but when. And then the college football playoff snub for Florida State expedites a process that was already there. And now we're sitting in a spot. Why is this Big 12 relevant? We're sitting in a spot where if Florida State leaves the ACC, I don't think they're going to the Big 12, but it's not clear where they're going, so I can't rule it out. And even more so, the much more likely scenario is that a Virginia Tech or a Duke or a UNC or a Miami or a Clemson. I have heard cases for Georgia Tech and Louisville and Pitt. I have heard cases for almost every major ACC team for why they would make a jump to the Big 12. This builds a third super conference, and the name of that super conference is Big 12. This is not Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, is going to strike something up with Brett Yormark, and the Big 12 will be a life raft, a safety net. No, this is a conference, not an orphanage. We don't take your scraps. This league is not interested in Boston College. This league is not interested in Syracuse. Brett Yormark is interested in playing the offensive when the time is right. He's mentioned consolidation in college athletics, and that time is now. Per Yahoo Sports, the ACC, Florida State likely going to split as Florida State is meeting to talk about its binding grant of rights. Now, if you're just now following along with this, it was already a very bad grant of rights. The Big 12 was bringing in more, doing more financially than the ACC was, and Florida State did not like that. And Florida State had nothing. I mean, their hands are tied for over a decade here when it comes to financials and in a conference that is middling at best. And you might hear that about the ACC and think, no, that's not the case. Well, they're 13-0 undefeated conference champion, just missed the college football playoff behind the 12-1 Big 12 champion. That right there gives you a glimpse into how middling the ACC truly is, not just from a financial standpoint, but also the respect that it gets. And a slap in the face from ESPN. That's where I want to go next. Because it was wild when Brett McMurphy tweeted this out. It's not me giving you some kind of clickbait or Florida State to the Big 12. Brett McMurphy tweeted out the SEC, the Big 10, and maybe the Big 12, to which my response, like, whoa, that's us. Hey, whoa, our name is there under Florida State. Our name is there for where Florida State could go. And the reason why is, first and foremost, ESPN. That's what the SEC is tied in with those guys, and Florida State just got slapped in the face by them. Now, was that a slap in the face to say, hey, you're not one of us, you could be, we're going to leave you out? I don't know, but ESPN certainly had a hand in leaving Florida State out. You know how much money, over $150 million that the college football committee, the college football itself would have lost in partnerships if the SEC was not there. Those partners, the SEC's partners, had a hand in why Alabama got in and Florida State did not. That's a slap in the face from ESPN and the partners of the college football playoff. With that being said, the SEC and Florida State aren't getting along right now. Greg Sankey has already committed to 16 teams, says that he's in a comfortable spot. Now, I'm not going to hold him to that. I'm not going to, if tomorrow it comes out that Florida State's going to the SEC or those talks have been opened up, I won't be shocked. People say a lot of things. But right now, the rhetoric out of Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, is that they're comfortable, they're good, and they've already got Florida. I don't know if they really feel like they need Florida State. They certainly don't need Florida State. What's more, how about the Big Ten? You're thinking, all right, fine. Yeah, this seems like a Big Ten move. They're taking anybody and everybody. I know Oregon's a pretty good power brand, and Washington, USC, and UCLA. So the Big Ten's they're scrapping from out west. Why not go out east? They'll really try to entrench themselves with a great deal with Fox, or they'll go maybe even a bigger deal with ESPN, or maybe NBC could be a high bidder here. They get Notre Dame on the docket in the Big Ten. What if there's something like that could approach this with eastward movement with Florida State or UNC or Virginia or Clemson? But wait a second. Florida State doesn't have AAU distinction. That might not mean anything to you. It didn't mean anything to me 6 months ago. But this AAU distinction is that you're one of the most prestigious academic colleges in America. Only a handful of them get it, and Florida State doesn't have it. And for you to be in the Big Ten, it's not written in stone that you have to have it. It's not vital. I say vital. It's not impaired. It's not mandatory that you are AAU branded as a university to be a Big Ten school. But that's what they like. They like having the academic prestige. Now, Florida State's president used to be at Harvard. He's a Harvard guy. So I can only imagine they're working their way toward the AAU distinction. But for now, they don't have it. And it's a pretty big caveat for the Big Ten. I've already talked about how they take a lot of schools, but their big stipulation is those schools be academically sound. Florida State, according to their barometer, is not. So the SEC's happy. The rhetoric out of Greg Sankey is, hey, we're good. 16's fine. Across the way in the Big Ten, there's an academic stipulation that keeps Florida State outside looking in. And even more so, there is no open. I'm reading. I told you, I've been studying this stuff nonstop for 6. This is my I haven't slept and I won't sleep for the next 2 days. I'm not seeing a lot of here. I'm not seeing a lot of this, of smoke with Florida State to the Big Ten. If the SEC's not on the table, if the Big Ten's not on the table, Florida State cannot go independent. In today's college football, you cannot be independent successfully. Notre Dame is still doing it because NBC is going to continue to facilitate that. Notre Dame can do it because of a TV partnership. Florida State is not going to get that, and I don't believe their Middle Eastern oil money is going to facilitate that. So Florida State to the Big 12 might sound like a conspiracy theory, but there are some pretty big roadblocks in the two major conferences that are keeping them out. So Florida State, my prediction is Florida State, by the end of the day, we will know that Florida State wants to leave the ACC. It says it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. It's happening. I'm calling it. It's no surprise. It's not like I'm not Nostradamus here, but we have talked about this for months on the show. Florida State will move to exit the ACC by the end of the day. We'll have more clarity on. I say we'll have more clarity. Dude, we've been knowing this was going to happen. This is a little bit earlier than I expected. I thought late January, we might get something. Let's let the college football playoff thing completely we'll let everything end. We'll close college football season, and then we'll strike. And then bam, middle of the holidays. You don't schedule a Board of Trustees meeting to talk about, conference affiliation right here on the doorstep of Christmas to say, hey, guys, we're really happy with the ACC. What do you say we send a gift basket to Commissioner Jim Phillips? No. We know what this is about. Florida State feels as though the grant of rights could be fraudulent. That's from different sources that says that Florida State's even exploring options legally that says the Board of Trustees of Florida State has looked into this so much as to say, wait a second, maybe there are some promises that were empty and not kept here and possible fraud. In that case, they would have to pay an exit fee that's going to end up totaling around $500 million. For comparison, Texas and Oklahoma combined for about $100 million to exit the Big 12. $500 million is a lot of money, but Florida State is so ticked off. They're so ready to leave. They're going to do that. And that's the domino. And I know we can talk about it all day. The ACC backfilled with the 3 teams, Calford and SMU. The backfill is not going to work. That's not going to work. If they stay at 15 Power 5 teams, then ESPN can't rework their deal. But I'm telling you right now, when Florida State exits, Miami's not going to sit and let it happen. Clemson's not going to sit and let it happen. I say Miami. I should even use them first. Miami's not going to sit and let it happen. UNC, NC State, Virginia is going to hop on this train. Folks, what just happened? What is happening today is the culmination of months and months of talk and predictions about Florida State and what's going to happen. And now it actually is happening. And what we're seeing in front of us is the landscape of college football changing and the Big 12 not just surviving it, but being a legitimate player in it. That's impressive. The league that was going to die when Texas and Oklahoma left, we were all eulogizing it. See you later. Good luck finding a new home Kansas State. That same league is in the fat middle of this with more stability than almost anybody else, saying, if the SEC doesn't want Florida State, if the Big Ten doesn't want Florida State for reasons that are already set, for reasons their commissioners have already echoed, the Big 12's there. And the Big 12 commissioner just told you he loves consolidation. He's good with consolidation, and he's happy with the entire NCAA president. He says, you know what? We're good. I think that guy's doing his job. So all this talk about building super conferences and building super teams and building super PACs and all that jazz, we're good with that. If that's the case, great. It's a lot more likely for Florida State to go to the Big 12 than we all think. I don't think I'm convincing myself. I'm talking myself into something nuts. It's right there. We'll talk about it the rest of this week. This has been, it always will be, an emergency episode of Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Come back all week for more. Doce Grande.